Okay, so you can finish the feedback form in your own time if you want, but let's continue with the class. So, last class we were talking about corporate governance. We said that there is a board of directors whose job is to supervise the managers. The board of directors is appointed by the shareholders at the AGM, the annual general meeting. Corporate governance is needed because of the agency effect. The agency effect that people may be untrustworthy, we can't trust them. So we need to supervise them and check them. Okay. We have seen that when corporate governance fails, there is a big problem for society. So we looked at the different studies showing corporate governance and profitability. We saw there was no real conclusion. We looked at the different regulations that have been introduced to improve corporate governance, like making sure that we have some people from outside the company on the board of directors. Okay. Looking at the pay, how to make the pay. We looked at some international standards about corporate governance. Okay. We talked about the different corporate governance in South Africa, in Germany, in Asia, and Anglo-America. And we finished up, we said that shareholders need to be more active. And we were talking about controlling bribery. So we said that these factors is bribery. Okay, we ask these questions when we decide whether it's a bribe or not. Then in order to reduce bribery, the company can take some different approaches. The first one is demand side approach. So we have demand side and supply side. So demand side means people asking for the bribe. So we saw before Transparency International. Transparency International gives us an idea of the corruption and bribery in different countries. Okay, so we need to change the climate in those countries so that people don't ask for bribes in those countries. So we need to change the education system, okay, and teach people not to do that kind of thing. But that's long term. That's a long-term approach. Okay, so supply side can be more effective in the short term. Supply side means inside the company we decide not to pay bribes. So this approach is more popular, especially in the short term. So we have ethical company. Okay, we organize the systems and processes in the company in an ethical way, and companies should refuse. Companies don't pay bribes. Okay. So the UK has a Bribery Act from 2010. So all companies operating in the UK which pay bribes are subject to prosecution. Okay. Failing to prevent an agent from bribing is also an offence. Facilitation payments are also banned, but hospitality is allowed. So do you understand hospitality? What is an example of hospitality? What's an example of hospitality? Europe.
Go to the airport and
Go to the airport and say goodbye. That's hospitality, yes. Anything else?
say hello.
Yes, say hello. Pick up somebody at the airport. Anything else? Dinner? Having dinner together, okay. Anything else? Okay, that's the thing, you see, we have to judge. Is it hospitality or is it a bribe? Okay? What about going to the private box in the sports stadium to watch the sports event? Is that hospitality or a bribe? What do you think? Take the person to the sports game to watch the game. Hospitality or a bribe? Hospitality. Okay? So it's hard, we have to draw the line. Okay? So the UK is drawing the line somewhere here between paying the money, bribing, facilitation payments. facilitating, making the business easier. So hospitality, we're not making a payment, okay? We're doing something together, and it's not that valuable. Now it may be that some of the sports events, for example, golf, the US Masters, ticket may be very expensive, or Formula 1, or let's say Champions League final or World Cup final, right? We could be pushing the line there because the ticket could be very expensive. But generally, the hospitality, it's not going to be, shouldn't be too expensive just for the dinner or the so on, okay? So we're not actually giving them anything, we're just doing something together, hospitality. So it may be, so we can see because of this, many companies now spend a lot of money on sports events, okay? Like a soccer team like Chelsea, they're in London, right? So in Chelsea they have a lot of VIP boxes nowadays, all the stadium. If you see the stadium in the old days, no VIP box, just all the same seats. But nowadays the stadiums have made the VIP box with lobster and expensive food, okay? And special big TVs to watch the highlight and so on. And they sell those boxes to companies. The companies take their clients to the box. It's called a hospitality. In Korea, what kind of sports events could you take a client to see? Just baseball? What if I'm from the UK? I don't know anything about baseball. Don't have baseball in the UK. Are you going to take me to see baseball? Maybe, yeah. Why not? Right, I can experience baseball. Okay? Anything else? Any other sports event in Korea? Golf? Okay, anything else? The women's golf is very good in Korea, right? Yeah. I love the top 10 of the top 10, maybe 5 of them are Korean lady golfers. What other kind of hospitality could you do in Korea for a client that's not bribing? Go to the Noreban? Take them to the PC bomb? Play StarCraft together? Experience the Korean culture? Go to the palace and those kind of things, right? Is that bribing? You go to the palace together? Gyeongbuk-gyeon? Or hospitality? How much is the ticket to the Gyeongbuk Palace? 5,000won? 10,000won? Maybe you can go to some show too, right? They have some show in Korea. That kind of thing. So any questions about this? Bribery? No? So, corporate manslaughter. In 2007 they had the Corporate Manslaughter Act. So there was a new offence of corporate killing. So the CEO, the company can be guilty of killing somebody. Okay? So we just saw with in Korea, people died because of some UK company, right? The UK company was making the chemical for the air humidifier. But about 100 people died, okay? Mainly babies or older people, slightly weak. But that's called manslaughter. Manslaughter is means you didn't murder the person directly, okay? But you ended up killing them because of your fault, okay? So this is only when the corporation's conduct fell below what was reasonably expected. Do you understand this word reasonable? Reasonable is an important word in law. Do you understand reasonable? What does reasonable mean? You can understand it. And deserve to do those things. Okay, it's reasonable. Means that anybody, a normal person would do that. Okay? Anybody would do that. It's reasonable. Okay? How do you say reasonable in Korean? Are you reasonable? Are you guys reasonable? try to be reasonable. So sometimes people say that's not reasonable. It's not fair. It's like it's not fair, right? So it's caused by the management failure. So the company is doing some unreasonable action where management is poor. Then the individuals can be liable for the killing. Okay, who was the person who allowed that to happen? They can be liable and go to prison. We also had the problem in Korea with the ferry, right? The Sewol disaster a couple of years ago, right? So did anybody go to prison after the Sewol disaster? Who went to prison in Korea? Captain of the ship? Did he go to prison? Yes? Okay, so he left. He should have stayed on the ship. That was not reasonable, right? We would expect the captain to stay on the ship and look after the passengers first, but he was the first one to leave the ship. Okay? And then the company had poor health and safety. They were loading on too much cargo. And they modified, they changed the ship. Okay, so that again, you can reasonably expect that you shouldn't put on too much cargo. And you shouldn't change the ship a lot. Okay, so in that case, the individual can be liable for killing. Okay? There's another thing called corporate mens rea. Not that any individual in the company could have foreseen the harm, but rather that a properly structured and organized company, the risk should have been obvious. So instead of saying that it's your fault that this happened, we're saying that it might not be your fault, you didn't do that directly, but your company should have had the proper system and organization, okay, to stop that from happening. So we have this very commonly, for example, in work accidents. They should have the correct health and safety. So an example, can you give me an example of a system for health and safety which stops the work accident? Can anyone think of a system for health and safety to reduce the accidents at work?
Safety.
Use the glasses or the helmet, okay? Using the equipment. So if your company doesn't have the system that you have to use the equipment, then you could be at fault. Okay? So in Europe, the Council of Europe proposed that we have to assume the guilt of the company. Usually the law is the other way around. In the law, we say we are assumed innocent until proven guilty. Okay? So it's the job of the prosecutor or the government to prove that we are guilty. But in this case of corporate mens rea, it's the job of the company to show that they had the right system in place. It's a different way around, okay? We assume that the company was guilty and they have to show us, no, we had this system, here's the paperwork, okay? We have this system, here's the proof. So the company can be also liable, individuals inside the company. So we have to make sure that those things are organized properly. So then let's discuss these questions with our partner to review the class on the corporate so far. So we talked about the Anglo-American corporate governance idea and South African corporate governance idea. So we can look back at the slides and see what was the main difference. Okay. Then compare two international standards. So look at two international standards and see which one do you like. Okay. And then the final question. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the Corporate Manslaughter Act? So what do you think about the Corporate Manslaughter Act? The mens rea and the proposal of the Council of Europe. Do you agree or not with those ideas? So discuss together with your partner. Ask and answer questions.